which is pretty decent. No permanents, but 2 lands and spells is pretty great. Hopefully my opponent isn't on something that can... Tons of spells, let's hope he's not on counter spells. Just to spend this. Let's see what our opponent is playing. So this tells me it's ad nauseum. Terrible matchup. I don't think that we can win this unless my opponent breaks somewhere. Eidolon would be our best draw. Because Eidolon just punishes all of their combo pieces except actual ad nauseum. This is not great. And I think that here I want to go for another Rift Bolt. So if my opponent has turn 3 Phyrexian and life, I don't think we can get there. This is Prism. Hi there, hi. Thank you. We are starting with a bad matchup against Ad Nauseam. So I think this is gonna be a 0-1 league to start with. So can we Boros Charm here? If we Charm, he goes down to 8, 7? Goes down to 7. So we'd need a land. What can we do? We can beat everybody. Yeah, that's true. But I'm more and more inclined to play the green splash again. Because I think that the meta is going away from being aggressive again. And the only reason not to really play the green is because the meta is aggressive. So my opponent has the combo. Let's see if he misplays. Why the green splash? Because if the meta is aggressive, the green splash hurts us, and we die. We lose some. Yeah, so it did everything right. So just lose. I changed this week, but for real, my meta it won't matter. Yeah, like if the meta is just if you lose by a mile, like against Amulet Titan, against combo decks, against control, the green splash is really worth it. But if you play a bunch of matchups where your life total really matters, the green splash really hurts there. If you play against Prowess, humans, even Eldrazi can beat you by an inch. So I'd be wary of playing the green there. Yeah, I love Revelry too, it's a great card. Sadly, there's no Boros red-white Revelry. Ad nauseum, so there's not much we can do here, sadly. A turn to Incinerator is probably pretty good. Grim Lavamancer is probably really bad. I honestly like Smash the Smithereens, because it can mess with their ramp. But they might be playing explosives for Phyrexian. I can't generate 3 colors. So that would be an added advantage to playing 3 colors. My opponent is probably on Leyline, so I think that Incinerator gets a lot worse there. So I think I'm actually gonna go the other way. Grim Lava Mass is a creature, so it can attack for 1, which beats Leyline. I don't want Surgical here because my opponent's always gonna play. He's never gonna play multiple combo pieces, and he has redundancy in those, so it's not great. But our best card in this matchup is definitely Eidolon. Like, this hand's pretty great, but our hand's pretty great, but against Ad Nauseam, I have to mold this. And I have to mold this as well. Like, I can't risk my opponent. He kept 7, but I can't really risk losing to Leyline, so I'm gonna mold to 5. We find the Eidolon, which is great. Now I'm gonna bottom 2 lands like this, and it doesn't start with a Leyline, which is pretty great. I'm gonna shock here, because I might draw Boros Charm. Seal of Fire's not the best, but also not the worst. Okay, so turn 1 sleight of hand. Now we can turn to Eidolon. Awful draw, we don't need any more lands, so let's fetch away another land, play the Eidolon. Luckily our opponent doesn't play Oracle here. Okay, so this is quite something. No turn 2 play. He didn't even suspend Lotus Bloom. This is fine. I'm gonna start with an attack. The great thing about Eidolon is that if they're at 2, Angel's Grace doesn't save them, because even though it has split second, the Eidolon trigger still triggers and goes above the the Angel's Grace. Sorry about that. Yeah, the trigger goes off first, so I've won games like that against Ad Nauseam. But it's a really tough matchup, because if they have it, we don't really have a way to disrupt their combo, and also their combo pieces interact positively against us. Like Phyrexian Unlife helps them combo, but also technically gains 10 life against us. And Angel's Grace can really break a big combat step, like if they have multiples. I forgot to crack the canopy, which was not great. I'm actually gonna do it now, because if I draw a second Eidolon, I want it down. So no harm, no foul. So my opponent is he probably has Oracle, Angel's Grace, and Spoils. So I think we just lose here. Sadly, I think we just lose here. Because there's no way he didn't play a turn 3 something. GG, yeah. My opponent's saying GG because he has the combo. I'm just gonna let him show it to me. But has Angel's Grace, still takes 4. Now it just has it. Spoils, and this is Oracle. Yeah, not really much you can do when your opponent just turn 4 beats you both games. Like, we need a really good draw to beat him. So he has 0. Sadly, a bad matchup to start with. Like, the green splash wouldn't have mattered there at all. Yeah, Oracle, it's an interesting card, but does enable some busted ass stuff. So we don't start off great. Now this hand's something else. So if I draw a Bolt, I can turn to Incinerator, but it's risky. But I also have Guide into Eidolon into possibly turn 3 Incinerator, which is pretty good. Which is also pretty good. So we keep this. Looks safer, yeah. I think that there's no need to risk it here. I will fetch for a basic, because I have 2 white sources. So no risk of, or less risk of being punished here. We can also scope earlier what we're up against. Probably Eldrazi. Does Greentron play Blast Zone? Let me just quickly check. I kinda don't want to not put. I have to play Eidolon. They do play Blast Zone, so hopefully this is Greentron. If I draw the Bolt. I still think we play Eidolon. Yeah, I know that E-Tron plays it, I just wasn't sure if Greentron played it as well. But they do. And a second expedition map. Loki tells me that this is probably Greentron. Now I placed Chalice of the Void and I just cry. No way to know. Even you can play that. Yeah, I know Chalice here means Incinerator, but Incinerator still has like if he plays Karn he can kill the Incinerator, but if he's playing Karn to kill the Incinerator, we're fine. Because we still have tons of board pressure. So let's attack first. Okay, so it is Eldrazi drawn. Good to know. Means they could still have All Is Dust. But I think that if they're playing All Is Dust, like, do we wait here? No way that my opponent kept a turn 3 All Is Dust. All Is Dust 7, right? Just making sure. Chalice Dust is 7, so they can play it. Like, my reasoning here is, if I sandbag the Incinerator, which I can because I will have 2 Seal of Fire, my opponent needs to answer this board suit, but then Thought Not Seer just kills me. And out of Eldrazi-Tron's draws, I think that their more common ones are turn 3, Thought Not Seer. I think we just go for Incinerator. So he's dead next turn, most likely, if he doesn't do anything. And I have to be careful because he's gonna not draw this Spatial Contortion. If he plays all his dust, we're kinda screwed. That one copy, I think it's our best move. Like, I'm sure my opponent's on Eldrazi Tron, seeing that Spatial Contortion. Like, Green Tron doesn't play those. I mean, usually people do tend to mix up both lists. I've seen Green Tron playing a couple of Thought Not Seers. Yeah, so he had no answer. All fine. Drawing Bolt's pretty great. Okay, so we have game 1, which is I'm gonna bet it's Eldrazi Tron. Meaning I take out Eidolon, I take out this Grim Lavamancer, and I play Smashed Smithereens. I play Engineered Explosives. I kinda wanna play every copy of Skullcrack, which I will, over a bunch of Goblin Guides, just to spread out the converted mana cost. And I think that due to creatures breaking against theirs, direct damage spells are better, also because they enable Incinerator. So I think this is the way to go. Explosives is here, because it kills Chalice no matter how many counters it has. Because you can always play it for 0, because no way that my opponent's gonna Chalice on 0. So good to beat these guys. Yeah, it feels great beating Eldrazi Tron, especially when they keep wonky hands and we just punish it. I think that it's probably the deck I like the least, Eldrazi Tron. I thought about the Zero yesterday. It's a decent hand. Do we need to mull for Incinerator though? I think that on the draw we need to be mulling for Incinerator. I'm gonna try it. Okay, now this I have to keep. I'll bottom a Lava Spike because I can't really play those against Chalice, which my opponent will definitely have. So map. Incinerator here. Okay, so the card we just bottom comes back up. So now let's try and just draw gas. Let's spike my opponent. If he plays Chalice here, we're in good shape, because we can just punish it. If he plays a Tron land, however, we're not in great shape. Now here's what I'm thinking. I think I want to play Boris Charm to play around my opponent being tempted to play a Chalice on 2. So he's just gonna crack the map. It's fine, he gets the other Tron piece. We're in good shape, I think. Except if this is a Thought Knots here, or Reality Smasher. Maze Mind Tome's pretty great, we can crack it. My opponent's drawing a card, that's fine. And a Reshaper, this is hella fine. So I think just Charm here. I spike my opponent. I'm actually gonna main phase this, smash the Smithereens. So my opponent doesn't have more value off of that Maze Mind Tome. So now I want Boros Charm. Ideally Boros Charm, so we just close it out. Like, I don't think that my opponent has a lot going on. Seeing how they played Maze Mind Tome and then drew a card and then played a Reshaper. So I think that he's playing a map. It's looking pretty good, but Eldrazi is probably the deck that can win the game off of a single top deck the easiest. This is interesting. That one's pretty interesting. So is this one. Now this Thought Knots here, take away any card, non-land card. Okay, so here's my plan. He can crack this. So I'm just gonna play chicken. See if he cracks it. He does. That's fine. That's fine. Okay, so here's the thing. I don't want to play this land. Wait. I can play it. Bolt my opponent before he chalices on 1. Even though I think that the best course of action would be to chalice on 2. You never know. If my opponent misplays as such, no, I misplayed this one. I thought that the destruction would have the 4 more lands. It's the ability that can only be activated if those are met. I still want to draw here. It's fine. So pretty much anything does it, except that. My opponent still, like, he has 5 cards in hand, but they don't do anything. Which is pretty fine. Like, we just need something. And sadly, in this game I can't hold on Seal in case I draw Swift Spear, because of Thought Knots here. Is this the big guy? Ballista for 4, that's fine. That means I'm dead next turn. So this has to be it. So I think here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna wait. Because if he plays anything like a Maze Mind Tome to draw a card, I'm fine. But I have to smash the Ballista, and he will just sack it, and the Smashed Minions won't do a thing. But I'm only taking 7 like that. I can just sandbag this. And actually, my opponent has enough mana to pump this twice. 7, 8, 9, yeah. Maybe he doesn't see the line.
Estás
This range I guess with the 5 because maybe he doesn't realize. Yeah, I have to play around my opponent making a mistake here. I should have smashed. I mean, I made the mistake. I should have smashed on my turn, so this would never happen. But I didn't see the line. Yeah, he's gonna put a counter on it. He's gonna put another. Yeah, I'm dead. Like, I made the mistake there. All right, same configuration, I think. There's no need in trying to change what was almost working. Strange game anyways. Yeah, opponents really did keep a whole lot of nothing. Not sure what that was about. Just play first here. Now do I want to keep this? Like, it looks great, but if I don't draw a land, I just lose. It's too risky. I lost way too many games like this. Now I have to multi 5, but that's not great. This is definitely not great. I don't think I can keep a one-lander like that. So I'm gonna dissuade my opponent from playing Chalice on one, but when you don't want lands, you just never stop coming. Oh yeah, but I can't really bank on that. Because that hand really wasn't all that great. I mean, it had the bolts, right? Maybe I should have kept. Maybe I should have kept the 7. Map's pretty okay. She's not pretty okay. So I'm actually gonna not do anything. Because if my opponent tries to play Chalice, which he might not be running, because I haven't seen one, and I do know that some Eldrazi Tron lists cut them. This is probably Reshaper, Chalice on 1. So a Reshaper here is fine. It's pretty fine. Like, this is a clock, not really a scary one. I do have to shock myself here, because I have to play it for the worst case scenario, which is not drawing something, but so I want mana to crack this. Another bolt's pretty great. Opponents will be at 7, so I'll still need a decent draw. Hopefully I don't get Thought Not Seared, because that really speeds up the clock. Which is exactly what it is. I think I still try to race it. I could kill the Thought Not Seer, but because of how magic works, the ability would still go through, and it would have been 2 cards to kill a Seer. Now I'm at 13, my opponent has 7 power. Now the big question is, am I dead to a Reality Smasher? Which I am not, because it's 9 plus 3, it's 12. So Boros Charm would be the best draw here. Rift Bolt's fine. Rift Bolt's fine. So now I can crack this and look for either 2 damage spells, or if my opponent manages to Chalice for 3, then we're kinda screwed. sure what the opponent has. Like the previous game he also had a lot of cards and not a lot of action. So I'm not sure of what he's playing. This is a weird action from opponent. Unless he has Smasher. Okay, so now I'm pressed to find lethal. I'm gonna go down to 1. Alright, so we crack this. This is not great. So now we need Boros Charm. Wow. This was pretty lucky. I'm not gonna lie, that was pretty lucky. But like, this curve's also pretty lucky. So, can't really be too mad. Okay, so that was fine. I punted game 2 there, like, real hard. As my friends were pointing it out, I should have smashed on my main phase to avoid him pumping Ballista for lethal, and I also could have killed Reshaper to not be killed with the Ballista even after my first mistake, and he would have 0 board presence. So, and I would have tons of time to find those last 4 points of damage. It happens. We still managed to win. So pretty lucky Boros Charm there though. Yeah, like I'm not gonna lie. But as I said, my opponent had turn 2 Reshaper into turn 3 Thought Not Seer into turn 4 Reality Smasher. This is Snap Keep. I'm really pressed to get some qualifier points. I kinda wanna play the Super Qualifier on Sunday, because I missed the last one because I didn't have qualifier points. Now I have a couple. I have like 30, 32. What is this? So, Gruul. Yeah, this hand's just nutso, especially in this matchup. Like, my opponent needs double bolt to not get blown. And if he does find a double bolt, we just have tons of other creatures to play. Okay. So burn turn 2 win. Feels great. And now, what's my plan? I don't like Grim Lavamancer. It hits a bunch of their stuff. Wait, I actually like it. I like it a lot because they have to answer it. What do I want here? I dream about hands that good. Yeah, just won me the game, turn 2. Just pretty amazing. I want all skull cracks, and I think I want the second Lavamancer. My reasoning is that my opponent, Clothis, won't be able to then target my stuff freely if I have Lavamancer on board. So they have to exile their own graveyard, and their graveyard, it's half the resources, probably less because they don't fill it as fast as me. I really don't like Eidolon in this matchup, because they kinda go over it, and they do have strong 4 and 5 drops. So maybe I don't want the Green Lavamancer. Maybe I take out another creature. Yeah, Goblin Guide never trades positively, because they have tons of blockers. I know, Goblin Guide's pretty great. So I just play one Grim Lavamancer. Not even that sure about that one. I think that's just it. It's pretty decent, so I think we keep. No ramp is also pretty great. So we just open up with Goblin Guide here. My opponent can't even play a... So he can't even play a Lightning Bolt without shocking himself. Guy does find a land. It's not a big deal. Now ideally I want something to do next turn that isn't playing these two spells, because I want to set up Incinerator. That one is pretty great. So let's start with an attack. My opponent probably has turn 3 Clothis. That's why I capped this weak hand. Stomp's fine. He has one bolt, which can be scary. If he has the second one, but still, Incinerator absorbing 6 damage off of 1 mana, it's fine. This is 100% Clothis. Okay, so this is Weather the Storm. I have no doubts about it. I like Grim Lavamancer here. So I'm just gonna go for it. If he has Weather the Storm, Incinerator has to take care of it. But I think I just hold on Grim Lavamancer. So this is a Weather the Storm most likely. He bolts me? That's weird. Weather the Storm, yeah. Okay. So he gains like 15 life, which is pretty awful in a good position even with Weather. Yeah, Incinerator's pretty great at beating life gain. And even with Grim Lavamancer in hand, he's gonna have a bunch of threats to go through. This could be another bolt, meaning I can't freely attack into this. It's not a great draw, let's crack this. This symbolizes Bolt to me, weirdly enough. Because I think that my opponent's best play would have been to kill this. But maybe he didn't have a second Bolt, he just drew it, or maybe he didn't. So Boros Charm here is pretty darn great. You're gonna see why. Um, 4 here, and I deal 6, so he goes down to 13. Or I attack and double strike and deal 3, and then 6 more to 9. So actually hitting him is better than double strike. This goes bye-bye. Now we attack. Now my opponent needs to take care of this right away. It's down to 12. Bailoff, sure. I'm gonna crack this in case I find another Boros Charm. Goblin Guides blocks so I don't lose this race. That's why it's not attacking. This cure is gonna be key next turn. At this point I don't care what the hell my opponent's doing. If he's just gaining a bunch of life. This is Glorybringer. Chandra. What? How does Chandra read? I always forget. -3 equals 4 to target creature. So he's gonna kill my Incinerator and bolt it. Yeah. So we just win, right? We play Swift Spear. We hit him, exiling 2 cards, down to 5, down to 2, and then we make 2 pass here. Okay, so my opponent gained 15 life with Weather the Storm and 4 more with Bailoff, but guess what? Our Incinerator attacked for a total of 12 damage, and it killed the giant, so that's 3 more damage. So you do the math, but the math's on screen right now. So that's why Incinerator is great. Like, my opponent kept a bad hand because of all the life gain, and I just didn't care. I just beat him. Incinerator will lose that match on traditional burn. Yeah, 100%. Like, no way. I mean, on traditional burn, there's the argument that you could sandbag spells for your opponent to have to play around Skullcrack. But even then, if you don't have it and your opponent doesn't respect the possibility of, you just lose. 4 lands, no permanents, it's a mulligan. This one has to be a keep. It's Rift Bolt, the wise choice here. Start with Rift Bolt, and now Incinerator or Eidolon off the top would be our best things. Would be our best draws. hell is this? A zoo-like deck? I'm gonna kill the Ark. I'm gonna spike because I wanna hold Skewer as removal, even though we're not in a great position to do so. Steel Leaf is not great for us, but it's not the fastest clock. The Sunbaked Canyon here is not great. Wait, what do I want to do? Do I want to draw? Let's be cheeky and draw. It's not great, but yeah, I drew there in case I drew a Rift Bolt, because Rift Bolt wins us the game there. Or Boris Charm, also great. Uh, thank you for the follow, Black Chuck. Thank you very much. Yeah, another matchup Incinerator. It's alive if you can get it out. Yeah, Incinerator here is gonna be great. So this is mono green Stompy with a little red for something, I'm guessing. Probably another Steel Leaf. Ooh. So now because mono red blitz, which is a better option with Mitchell's Bubble or without Mitchell's Bubble. So I'm not a very proficient prowess player or blitz, but I think that currently blue-red is the best version because Stormwing dodges Fatal Push and Stormwing also fills the 2 mana 2-drop role pretty well. I don't love this block, but whatever. My opponent doesn't block. Okay, so I think I don't care about that. Now I'm in a comfortable place to kill my opponent. What the hell is this? So my opponent discarded a land. So now I really need... Yeah, that works. Sorry, Blackchuck, I was answering your question. I think that blue-red is the best prowess version right now because of Storming. Storming really looks like a great card. And I think that that deck can't really fit Mishra's Bauble in it. As weird as that sounds, because it does enable a turn 2 Stormwing. But I think that the optimal build that people are achieving doesn't play Mishra's Bauble. But I'm not sure. And I also know that the prowess community is pretty split on playing red or not. Now, what the hell is this matchup? He's going Stompy, so Eidolon's not great. He's green, so Skullcrack's probably great. I'm on the play, so probably Grim Lavamancer doesn't do much. Let's back up on removal, and I like this, I think. Yeah, this is a big pile of cards, but sometimes those just win games. This is too risky. I like this a lot more. I like the path here. I'm gonna bottom skewer because it's awkward with only having one land. This hand's not great, but I don't think I want to mill down 5. But you can build this at Prouse without fetch lands, with Canopy, Shockland, and Fast lands. You can. I think that you reliably can. Also have in mind that even though it's blue-red, it doesn't play islands, so you don't need Scalding Tarn. You just play any old red fetch, which is pretty great, all things considered. Like, Wooded Foothill's pretty cheap compared to Scalding Tarn. So Guide here is not awful, because I do like to keep the pressure on. What did I reveal? Bone Crusher Giant. Not a great reveal, because it's removal, but we can do with it. Huh. I'm gonna Lava Spike him, because no use in playing this only for it to get removed by an adventure. Opponent stomps face. Do draw the land. Now I think we just play both Swift Spears. This mana situation is not great, but if we do find a land next turn, we're in pretty great shape. This could be a bolt, but again, we're fine with it. Like, I think that my opponent misplayed heavily by stomping me. Like, he needs to be under control, so he has bolt. Now, hopefully, he doesn't find a land and he plays Bone Crusher Giant, and we do find the land and we path the Bone Crusher and we just go for 9. He attacks with Hierarch. He has one card in hand. It can't be great because he played a Hierarch. We do find a land, so let's path this. We are getting kinda low, but my opponent has no pressure. This is not pressure. Now we go face, and we actually go in for 10. I don't want to remove the Hierarch. I need to close this out quickly. So my opponent's in double lightning bolt range, which is pretty great. But I'm also in... So he has no cards in hand. So he doesn't discard anything. But he does have a big, thick boy on board. Now he's thinking about attacking, because if I top deck more removal, he does attack. Yeah, that's a good attack, honestly. This is no longer in his hand. That's pretty great. Gonna hold off on it. If this was something good, we just lose. Hopefully my opponent didn't draw a bolt. He has to attack here. I have to block. I can't afford to try and be cheeky. Might be... I have no clue what this is. Like, no matter, it doesn't really matter what Eldritch Evolution into Kitchen Finks. Scavenging Goose. Wow, so that's definitely not great. Because it's 1, 2, so he's up to 8. So I need to find Boris Charm now. I'm dead next turn no matter what. Let's just let him do his thing. So we drew a Boris Charm against Eldrazi. Let's see if we can do it again against this. Not immediately, but we can still do it. And no, we just lose. Okay. I think I don't want to bring any more paths, especially if I'm on the play. I need to just be super fast. Would you like to play first? Yes. I do like this hand. It has Goblin Guys to start chipping in. And then I can hold Skullcrack until I can put down Incinerator. I like this hand. It's a bit weird, but I think that I need the card density here. And double Skullcrack feels great. Like, I'm sure my opponent's playing Kitchen Finks. My opponent moles down to 6. Which is pretty fine. I think I fetch for basic. My life total does matter. If I didn't open with 2 canopy lands in the previous game, I might have had a chance. Who knows? Reveal Evolution is not great for us. Opponent plays birds. This is great. Because I wouldn't mind finding a 4th land to go Spike, Skullcrack, Incinerator, I'm gonna play this one. Sadly, I can't kill the birds. Magus, it's fine. We don't have any white cards in hand. I know we might draw them, but this is pretty great. This is kind of a problem. My opponent obviously doesn't attack here. I think I want a Skullcrack. Like, him missing land drop tells me that I can afford to do this. Now, ideally, I draw a Bolt. This works. This works. Honestly. Now my opponent's probably go land evolution into something annoying. I would like him to play kitchen things. So no action from opponent. Okay, so I think that I want a Skullcrack here. This is pretty great with Incinerator in hand. And I'm actually gonna play it now. I could hold it and play. And I'm gonna cast it like this, so now Lava Spike is there to clear any annoying blocker. So Lightning Bolt on my Goblin guy isn't the worst. Like, I'm healthy enough that I can just play it safe and not attack anything with Incinerator. This is either Magus or Evolution. I honestly think these are my opponent's best plays. So he does go for the Evolution. Like, I don't doubt that my opponent fetches like a Scavenging Goose or this one. Does this hit any target? Target player or Planeswalker? Yeah, that's fine. So he discards Baloth. Oof, opponent. Now I'm almost yeah, like, I don't even need Incinerator here. Just gonna kill this. Doesn't matter, I just have lethal. Okay, so we're 3-1. I keep forgetting to update the game score on screen. I'm gonna do that now. So we're 3-1. Let's finish up this league. Let's see if you can get a 4-1. It's not great in terms of qualifier points, because it's just the 2. but 5 treasure chests is still pretty great. But I'm already going even, which is ideally what you always do. Sadly, losing game 1 to ad nauseam means no trophy is even possible. And I think that if anyone here saw the ad nauseam game, you saw that I didn't even lose because of Phyrexian Unlife. I lost because of a quick 3-card combo of Oracle, Angel's Grace, and Spoils. Meaning that even the theoretical green splash wouldn't have helped there. I'm gonna be honest, I don't hate this hand as turn 1 Goblin Guide. I have 8 draws that give me turn 2 Incinerator. But if at any point in the game I draw another land, I think I'm not in a good place. I like this way more. I'm gonna keep this, and I'm gonna bottom the Rift Bolt, and I'm gonna be sad if I top deck an Incinerator. So Swamp into Inquisition. This might be Jund or a Smallpox deck. The other day I saw a Smallpox mono black list, which was pretty cool. For some reason my opponent takes away my Swift Spear. Like, I don't really understand why. Like, Swift Spear is not better than Goblin Guide. Goblin Guide reveals a card from your deck, so it's Jund, which is most likely not a land, because even Amulet only plays half lands, so that means that half of your draws will be seen by me. And trust me when I tell you that burn knowing what you're gonna draw is pretty darn relevant. So my opponent knows I have a land, and I'm gonna go and do the old trick where I attack. Does reveal a land here. Yeah, like, I would cut Swift. I tested cutting Swift Spear to play Incinerator, but I would have never cut. I would have never cut Goblin Guide, like, ever. Like, I cut them post board sometimes because yes, the ability to not grow can be relevant, but I think that cutting Goblin Guide from your main deck is just wrong. Card's pretty great. Like, the information is borderline an upside for us. This is probably Liliana. Yeah, that's really not a great Liliana. Of course I'll sacrifice Goblin Guide. Great. Now, I need to attack Liliana. Now, this might look weird. Yeah, but we just care about lands in a few matchups. Yeah, like against Amulet, I like cutting a Goblin Guide if I can, like one or two, just because they're really not great, because they will always find them lands. And Amulet has a problem of not having enough lands to cast early Titans with Amulet and bounce lands. So that's a matchup where I like cutting Guide. Maybe not all four, but like one or two. So I'm thinking here, if I double bolt my opponent, it goes down to 4. Then any spell he plays goes down to 2. I actually like that, and I have Burst Arm in hand, which kills him at 4. So he has 2 problems to take care of. Yeah, so that's GG. So Jund players have been trying to run Dragon's Claw in the side. I hope my opponent isn't on that plan, because Smash the Smithereens really isn't great. As I've said earlier, Incinerator on the draw against Jund is not particularly good, because they can play for Liliana and punish my turn 2 Incinerator. They have Assassin's Trophy, which is kinda good for us, but not really awesome. So I'm gonna side him out. I'm gonna bring in Grim Lavamancer as a card that they need to deal with. Yeah, Jund with Dragon's Claw is bad. Like, it's bad. It's taking 4 slots to beat 1 deck. 2 if it even beats Prowess, which I don't think it does. And Terminate. Yeah. But Terminate has its use, especially if Eldrazi Tron is seeing a lot of play. Like, you can't convince me that playing Dragon's Claw when you're not a mono red deck or mono-ish red deck is worth it at all. Now here's the thing. I don't love Skullcrack because their life gain. But my opponent's probably on Clothis. I think that Clothis is a good Jund card. So I think I'm gonna bring in 3 Skullcrack. Or maybe being on the draw I want Path, because Jund beats me by playing early Tarmogoyfs. So I think we keep this. We have Grim Lavamancer and Eidolon, which are both must remove cards from my opponent. And I've been really happy with Grim Lavamancer. It's great against blue decks because they can't. So this is this card. Not an easy choice for my opponent. Like, he can take my obvious turn 1 play, or he can take my annoying turn 2 play, or he can take my annoying turn 3 play. Yeah, like, Lavamancer is great against control. It's great against creature heavy decks, which are both, like, they're not bad matchups, but they're not great matchups. They're even, I think. It depends um, on how you play the matchup. And Lavamancer really opens up some breathing room because both decks need to deal with it right away before it starts generating value. Which against creature decks means they have to draw their very limited answer slots, and against control means that they need to do something before we untap, which is great for us because it means they can't counter our sorcery speed spells. That's why I love Cloth is against control too. Double Swamp is not great. Collective Brutality is definitely their best card against us. This tells me they're not on the Dragon Claw plan, because the Dragon Claw plan involves cutting Collective Brutality, which is insane to me. Like, how much better is Collective Brutality? I'm fine. This means Riftbolt's gonna go away, but they don't even drain 2 because they probably have something decent in hand. And they have to discard the Riftbolt, meaning they probably have Liliana. So I'm gonna play around that, because I just drew the perfect anti-Liliana card, which is another Swift Spear. And I want to play Grim Lavamancer here, because my opponent's at 19, which is a lot. I have little budget to buying cards and paper. Is a good idea to start with Mono Red Blitz and then upgrade to Izzet? Yeah, most likely. I'd say so. Um, Even though, I mean, yeah, I think that in paper Steam vents aren't really that cheap. Um, so I think that starting with Mono Red is definitely the way to go. And you can even start without Canopy lands, without Sunbaked Cannons and Fiery Islets. And you should go for Fiery Islets if you want to play Izzet. But you can start playing without those. They are pretty great. They're also the easiest card to replace. You just replace them with a basic land. So I'm gonna go Seal here. And my opponent's really healthy, but he's also without any cards. So we're now in a top deck game. And his top decks are quite good, but so are mine. And I'm gonna shock myself because I also have a decent life total at 16, so I can crack this Canopy at the end of his turn. No plays from opponent. Might be stuck with a Bloodbraid Elf. And I forgot to crack the Canopy. God damn it. Just attack here. Let's try not to forget to crack the Canopy. I'm not gonna skip because my opponent might be on Pillage. Weird inclusion, but I do splash a color and taking me off that color. So Tarmogoyf here isn't great for us. I actually want to wait because he has an untapped mana. How many paths did I sideboard in? All of them? So path here would be great. That also works. That also really works. Just go like this. Go like this. Yeah, but I actually think that fire realits are cheaper than Sunbaked. Okay, so we got the 4-1. Pretty decent. Like, Ad Nauseam's just pretty much unbeatable. Like, it's not on us to beat Ad Nauseam. It's on them to lose to us. So, 4-1's nice. Let's open a chest. Just the one. Let's minimize our deck here a little bit. Let's open one of these, see what we get. We get something out of value. Stony Silence is pretty cheap online, but never a bad card to have. Even though it doesn't see play right now, it's always a decent card to have. 45 play points is pretty darn great. Alright, so I'm not gonna stream anymore. I think that a league per stream is pretty decent right now. Yeah, in fact, to be very weird. About Stony Silence being super cheap, it's because Stony Silence is a relic of the past. Like, activated um, activated artifacts aren't really played that much nowadays. And online, no, fire reality, to be cheaper. Let me check. Let me check that. I'm checking in Europe because I'm from Europe, but I think they are. So fire realits at 775 and sunbaked at 968. Yeah, so it's a bit more expensive, and the reason is that I bet mine's a bit more expensive because it was when they came out, but I also won too in a tournament, so it kind of balances out. Um, the reason that Fire Reality isn't as played is because the only Izzet deck, well, so Prowess is a thing, but as any red deck, Prowess isn't really all that. I mean, it's popular, but not enough to spike cards. And the other blue-red deck that exists is Blue Moon, and control decks can't really afford to be playing Canopy lands. Like, if they open their game with like one Canopy land against aggro, they just lose that game. So as I was saying, this is it for today. Like, I think that going further is a bit too tiring. I do enjoy streaming, but I'm not used to it. So after the first league, I get a bit tired of going through all my lines. So I actually want to try this raid feature from Twitch, so let's raid someone who's streaming right now. Let's raid Aspiring Spike. That's a good streamer. Let's go there and see how he's doing.
I think if I was going to play a sweeper, I'd play a Damnation, which is also kind of hard to cast. Chalice on 0? Boss, well, Poseidon Red, full name. Thank you for the raid. How are you doing today? And this probably just means they have another Chalice, right? Right. I probably will force a negation tome if we draw it off the ice stone. I respect them a lot. Choosing whether or not to use Field of Ruin this turn is pretty interesting. While I'm thinking I'm going to attack. Obviously,